Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna, and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Claire Davis. Claire and James Davis are a midlife award-winning duo and owners of the world-renowned fitness brand 38 Degrees North, and also the creators of the phenomenal, successful 5-star rated The Midlife Mentors podcast. The Midlife Method has been developed over 12 years, backed by years of research, experience and client transformations that have a profound and lasting impact on the lives it's touched. Claire and James continue to be forces of truth and integrity in the health and wellness industry, demystifying the fads, fake promises, pseudoscience that plague our newsfeed. You're going to absolutely love this episode. I could have spoken to Claire for another 3 hours. We really did connect, and you're going to absolutely love it. They've been featured in all sorts of press, such as Women's Fitness, Vogue, Men's Fitness, The Independent, and so much more. You're going to really love this chat. So hi, Claire. It is great to get you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's really lovely to be here.
I know, and I was just saying that I've had loads of people I've interviewed for the States recently, so it's quite nice to get a fellow Brit. And in fact, I didn't ask you where, but I know you've got a southern accent, so whereabouts are you from?
London. London, central London. So I live between Primrose Hill and Hampstead, so North London. I'm Belsize Park.
Not from Stoke. My cousin lives in Stoke Newington, so I go down there quite a lot.
It's a lovely area. A lot of people, I was just saying this to a woman in the States actually that I was on a podcast with earlier on. I think a lot of people think London is just so built up and so busy, but actually where we live, we're really blessed. There's lots of green space. We've got Regent's Park, Hampstead Heath and Primrose Hill. So I wouldn't,
nice.
It's just a lovely place to live.
Yeah, brilliant. So it's great, as I say, it's great to have you on the show. And I often talk about my 3 pillars. I don't know if you've heard of them before. Freedom in love, which is around self-care. Freedom in money, because I don't care what anyone says. Money matters to be able to choose the things you want to do and give you freedom and flexibility. But it's not all about money. And then freedom in mind, which I hate the word mind because it just goes with love, money, and mind, if I'm honest. But mind is much bigger than the word mind, isn't it? And for me, it's not about, hey, I'm going to be positive all the time. It's just having the right things in your toolbox to be able to recognise that actually sometimes we do have a shit day, but tomorrow could be something a bit different, and not to kind of get overwhelmed if something bad happens, or, from external influences, and just being able to have a toolbox of stuff, be able to like chunk it down and deal with that, really. In summary. That doesn't really go with love, money, waffle, but mind it's an important one to me because it's something that within my journey, my mindset has really helped me through. So
and I totally agree. And I think we were just saying actually before we jumped on, weren't we, that actually that faux positivity can actually be quite damaging. I think we're in a world now where we see everyone's highlight reels and everyone looking like they've got everything made up, like they're just sailing through life without any issues. And I think it's really important for us to have that toolkit, because life just is not like that, and everyone goes through the muddy, messy parts. And understanding what's going on with your mindset and how to start bringing it back to a place of more positivity, but being kind and compassionate with yourself at the same time is really important.
Absolutely, because I think you're right. I think this is why I sometimes worry about the youngsters. With me having 2 teenage boys, like this focus so much about online stuff, and obviously we didn't have it. Well, I didn't have it. I'm not sure I told you.
No, I didn't. So I'm a late 70s child. So I go on our social media channels sometimes and talk about exactly the same. It desperately breaks my heart actually, because you know, I see, especially on TikTok, which sadly, and I say sadly, and I don't say that lightly, is actually our biggest platform. It's absolutely nuts. We've got nearly 90,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a beast now that I need to feed, and I'm not quite sure that that's a good way to approach it. But I see things on TikTok and I'm just shocked, especially the young girls. I think obviously because I am a woman, I find it so devastating the way there's so many of them are so provocative on there. It's all so polished. It's all so perfect looking, and the pressure and the anxiety and the mental health that they must be going through. It really worries me for the future, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And so tell us what you do, because we've dived straight in.
Dive straight in. No, it's great. Just let it flow. So I'm a midlife health and happiness expert. So my backgrounds, we're called the Midlife Mentors. I run the business with my husband, James. And it really spans a very integrated approach to living your best life at midlife. So thriving instead of just existing. So really understanding that the best years of your life are not behind you, they are in front of you, and dialing in what we have a 6-pillar approach. So I love your 3-pillar approach. Yeah, a 6-pillar approach, which really spans kind of the physical and the physiological and the soulful side of being balanced and making sure that you are living not just a long life, but a really good one. Because we know we're all living longer. Modern medicine means that we're all living longer, but actually the quality of our lives is decreasing. So that's a real mission of mine and for James, is to give people the toolkit that they can move into these later lives with a bit more joy.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's not just one thing, isn't it? You know, like we were talking before about, you know, someone might do some like faddy diet to try and lose some weight, and then it's this holistic approach, which I really like that you do, you know, because it encompasses all of it. I'm just curious how you two both got involved in this. Like, what's the story?
Oh my goodness. Well, little truth bomb is that he's my 3rd husband. So 3rd time lucky. So the way we got into this, we were friends for a long time. I went through my divorce. We met over in Ibiza, which is where we actually still run luxury retreats, so wellness retreats. And we met over in Ibiza, and I was married, he was married, and then obviously I lived in the UK, he lived out there. And then I found out through a mutual friend that he'd also split up with his wife at the time. And one of my friends said, "Oh, James keeps asking about you, like when you're coming back over to Ibiza, when you're coming back into Ibiza." And I went over there, and a long drawn out process of me being an absolute nightmare towards him. Absolute nightmare, you know, all the barriers up, being a real pain in the backside. And then we finally got together, and within a few months I'd moved over to Ibiza and was helping him run the retreats. But I'd already started in my kind of hormone consultancy. I'd already started on that journey. I'd already started doing all the PT stuff and nutrition. But yeah, so that's how we got onto the journey. And then the midlife stuff started with our podcast. So we started that podcast in 2018 called the Midlife Mentors. And it was just a way, like we were saying, it's just a way to share your passion, your knowledge, for free, and just give people hope and empower them with knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's how the Midlife Mentors started. And then obviously when COVID happened, no one was traveling, so our retreats business went like literally nothing. And then we were like, okay, we need to ramp up the Midlife Mentors. And that's when it became just what it is now, which is really beautiful. And we do a lot of corporate work. So yeah, that's how we started doing it together, because we'd already worked with so many midlifers since 2012, coming to our retreats, and they were kind of presenting
that was going to be one of my questions. So the retreats I think it tends to be that age group, doesn't it, a lot of the time? I mean, there are people who do retreats for young people, but generally people start actually wanting to care for themselves.
Yeah, as in not going to Ibiza just for the boozing.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're like, you're going to Ibiza for a health retreat. What? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I agree. It was mainly midlifers, and they were all coming not just with look, I don't feel comfortable in my own skin anymore, and look, I don't know, I just smell a chocolate biscuit and I've put on weight. It wasn't just that. It was really about these big questions they were asking themselves and the mindset stuff. And like our background is stress management, psychology, NLP, all that sort of stuff. So we were like, right, if there's an integrated approach that we can put together for midlifers, because there's not one out there, that will help a lot more people.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the two go hand in hand. I know, obviously, like you were saying before, they're like separate businesses, but actually, they both work really well together, don't they? You know.
Yeah, so that we've got a retreat coming up in October at Six Senses in Ibiza, so beautiful resort, and that's actually really focused on midlife. So it's called Midlife Mastery. So we've really kind of honed in on that midlife for our retreats now as well, because 38 Degrees North, our retreats, was kind of for everyone, but now that's our main focus. And yeah, it does complement the Midlife Mentors now.
And I think it's good, like we were saying before, that you think midlife for women, it's always like the menopause, especially here in the UK. That's what you kind of like think of first, really.
Yeah, you do.
But for men, I like how you focus on both, because it is important to make sure that we're different creatures, aren't we? On how I remember my background working in the pharmaceutical industry, dare I say.
Don't tell anyone. Oh dear.
I actually was the Viagra lead, so this is really
No, that's amazing.
So in fact, I used to do a lot of presents when I first got involved in my online business. It was Facebook marketing that I focused a lot on, and I used to say, "Facebook's my baby." It used to be Viagra. I'd get a load of like, it was a good little intro. Do you know what I mean?
Bet.
When I was doing presentations, I used to say I made a lot of men happy in the Midlands. But on a serious note, we were educating a lot of healthcare professionals about the fact that women go in and out of the doctors all the time, because generally obviously not most, but a lot of women have children. So by having children, you get, you're having like pregnancy checks, then after pregnancy, you've got the children to go in and out, and you just naturally in and out. And obviously you have contraception, so you're always like going in for that. It's just we're in and out of doctors a lot more than men generally. Not that I really go to the doctors now, but you know what I mean. Just as a whereas men, it's really if they are in an accident and their legs hanging off that they have A&E. It's only the really super fit men that are really body conscious, that go out to the gym, really interested in their protein count, that go into the doctors and go like, can I have my stats done, because I want to check their blood pressure, and they're really, really proactive. So we were, as Viagra actually having a problem with erectile dysfunction was actually giving signs that actually blood pressure was shit and your overall cardiovascular health was down. So it was actually getting men to have a full body check, because a lot of men don't. So we had this like crazy nurse that used to go around all these pubs with stupid silly t-shirts about penises and willies and things like that, where she was doing blood pressure checks to get people in and just making like health a bit fun, fun and sexy helps you out, so I know from that perspective that actually just generally, and this again is general, that men, we are different creatures. Women, like we were saying before, open up generally with their friends if they've got worries, not all, but generally. And then men tend to bottle it up. So it's kind of like at midlife, there's still things that happen, isn't there? But it's different.
100%. And like James is a menopause practitioner like I am, which I think is amazing that he even bothered to understand the menopause and wanted to train with me to make sure that when he's talking to women on our program or our retreats or in corporate settings, he knew what he was talking about. But he also goes into places like Citibank. He did a whole thing last November for Men's Health Month on the andropause. And the andropause is the it's not the male menopause because they don't have a menstruation cycle, obviously, but when we're talking about hormones, they have testosterone, so their testosterone is in decline, and again, it massively affects in a similar way to how our estrogen and progesterone dropping away affects us. They have similar things. They have you know, a loss of libido like we do. They have brain fog, they have anxiety, depression, low mood, sleeplessness, their body shape changes, they put on weight. So it is real. I think the fact that we work with men and women is quite unique and helpful. It brings a different dynamic to the conversation. Instead of just talking into an echo chamber, you know, there's a conversation for men and women to have. And you know, the statistics of male suicide now in midlife men is on the rise. It's crazy. And that really deeply upsets me, because I'm like, okay, what can we do to gain awareness, like spread awareness, like you were doing, spread awareness that men are going into their 40s and 50s. They're going into that like end of their career, really. If they're in their 50s, they're thinking about when they're going to retire, and they define themselves, their ego, as well as us women. Of course, us women, we're successful women as well. But I think for men, there is so much wrapped in what they do for a job, potentially a little bit more than us women, because we have children or we have other things and we have friendships. But theirs is, it can become quite an insular world for men, and their pool of friends get smaller.
And also the pressure as well, like the pressure of like having to be like this
the man.
Strong.
Exactly. And then, you know, we were talking to someone that's in the government the other day, and he was saying something really interesting. Since COVID, there's a whole like basically there's a lot of men, particularly midlife men, that are leaving the workforce. They don't know why. So they're in their 50s, they've left the workforce, they don't know why. There isn't real, you know, it's not necessarily anxiety, depression, whatever, or ill health. They've just left, and they're not claiming off the state at the moment, and they're not coming back into work. So they're like, what are they doing? And like, when are they going to either come back to work? Will they be able to? Or when are they going to start claiming off the state? Because there's a whole chunk of men that aren't being heard, aren't being listened to, and have gone missing, basically.
It's mad.
It's really mad.
I think like I really love what you're doing, because I think women should be proactive to understand men, and men should be proactive to understand women. And if we had more of that, there wouldn't be this whole war thing that goes on. I mean, I know that we joke a lot like this. I think it's funny to joke a lot about, you know, blondes or you know, certain things that we joke. I can't think of them off the top of my head now, but we joke about the different sexes, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think harmless banter is fine. But I've noticed recently, like especially with social media, that there's sometimes because I notice it because I talk a lot about domestic abuse. And so if I raise something about domestic abuse, a lot of the time I get attacked by men. And I normally think, well, if I'm getting attacked, it means I need to seek and understand why, because that's just the way I am.
Beautiful.
So I think that, because I know that if someone is being angry, it's coming from some insecurity, and I just know that. So absolutely. It's usually because they've been treated or not been heard. And maybe it's a divorced man who's been treated badly by the ex, you know what I mean? Because there are a lot of shit women in this world as well who think that there's this entitlement that they should have the children and treat men rubbishly through divorce. So I understand that, but it won't stop me keep raising awareness about my story. My story wasn't like that. But I think there's this constant war that I hate, and I think agree. It's like I don't hate men, and that seems to shock a lot of men when I say it, because I talk about domestic abuse, they assume that I'm like a feminist that hates men. And I'm like, I've got loads of male friends, and even though I went through my difficult time, I know there's good men in the world, and that's fine. I might be single now, but that doesn't mean that I don't love men, and I do. I think it's this we have to come from this place of understanding rather than women are better or men are better. And I see it from both sides. I see women arguing ridiculous stuff, and I see men arguing. I get into I sometimes don't get into it, but I read it and I think I'm not getting into that.
And I think, I've seen this when James has talked about the men going through a difficult time in their life at midlife. James sometimes gets absolutely massacred by women. How dare you take the hormone thing away? How dare you? You've stolen everything from us. Why are you stealing the menopause? Can't you just leave us alone? I'm like, oh my goodness. And that is what is wrong with the world. It is so divided anyway.
Yeah.
And we do not need to be pitting war at each other. There needs to be, in order to change and move forward into a more whole society, into a more peaceful, loving, kind, generous society, those two sexes need to come together and understand each other, rather than this anger, this real bitter anger.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's all really started. I suppose it's just escalated over the years, and I think it's probably down to people getting together when they're not healed, unhealed people getting together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's probably why I'm still on my own now, because I feel like for me to get together with anyone, I really want to make sure they've got a coach. What I mean? Like they've worked on themselves over the years, because it doesn't matter what story or background you have. I just think it's really important to take, what is the word? I can't get my words out. But be really like just have worked on yourself basically over the years. I think it's really important to spend a bit of time doing that, rather than jumping from one relationship to the next. And that's what I think causes this bitterness from both sexes, because people are just jumping into things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. We've all jumped into things, but do you know what I mean? Just generally, I think that's where it kind of comes from. That it then becomes this blame war between the sexes.
Yeah. And I think the problem is as well, it is a tough time at midlife, because if you have got together with someone when you're younger, you think, okay, well, of course I'm not going to be the same person I was in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s and my 50s. How do you navigate those changes? Like, you've evolved and grown as a person. And actually, one of you might have gone this way, one of you might have gone that way. But it doesn't, what I always say, it doesn't mean to say you have to stay that way. But both need to be willing to take responsibility for your own healing and have communication with each other, and understand that person isn't the same person that you married and it all got together with, and they never will be. And that's the beauty of life. Why would you expect that person to? But we put things in boxes, and then when we get to midlife, we're like, well, that box doesn't look like I wanted it to look. That one doesn't look like it. And I know a lot of the time when we're unhappy in ourselves and we're going through these changes at midlife as well, we can really easily point the finger at something externally that we are unhappy with. So a lot of the time in midlife, a lot of stuff comes up that we haven't healed. So it's really easy to go, oh, I don't want to look at that. I'll just blame it on you and project it. Yeah, I'll just project it on you. But it takes, like you say, like a coach. It takes self-awareness. It takes a lot of work, and it can feel really crappy.
Yeah. And I think also it's that whole society, social media stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Because people look at things and perceptions of how the perfect world or their perfect life should look. This is what they should, this is the house they should have, the car they should have, these are the holidays and experiences they should be having, these are the date now, all these extra things that we've taken from America about certain dates and this and that, and all these standardizations.
Yeah.
And probably the reason why I don't feel like that is because of my journey, that when I spent a lot of time with myself, I realised that I was so bothered about what other people thought about me. And I think a lot of people feel like that, we're bothered about, and I am still to a certain extent. I think everybody should be bothered to a certain extent, because otherwise you're just not going to give a shit about anything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Someone started sending me horrible messages on Instagram that was like, we all get horrible messages.
Oh, I get trolled, yeah.
But consistently, and it was like psycho. Everyone would be bothered. If somebody wrote a comment, like I do paid ads and things like that. And, you know, I've had random weird things that people have said. And I'm able to laugh it off, you know. And I'm generally not bothered about what people think about me, but I think I can't say I'm completely not, you know.
No. And I think that goes back to our evolution, right? Because I think if we, you know, when you were in a tribe back in, you know, if you were in a tribe and you didn't care what people thought about you and you just did whatever you wanted to and didn't try and conform. So we're hardwired in our DNA to conform to the tribe. So if we didn't do that, we'd be thrown out and we'd probably die because we were ostracized. And so that's why I always say to people, I really hate that I'm a people pleaser. I really hate that I care too much. I'm like, well, firstly, you're never going to be able to kick that bit out of you. You know, yes, you can manage it. And you can move through it and not let it stop you singing your own song in the world and being out there and helping people and inspiring people. But just be nicer to that part of yourself, which shows that, well, firstly, you're human, that we all have that, but that you care, that you're a kind person. Because, you know, if you weren't a kind person, you wouldn't care.
Yeah. But I do think that people are, I think what the point that I was trying to get to is, with my long waffle, was that when I was stuck in a situation because I was more bothered about what people thought about me, leaving that situation, which I think a lot of people go through, because going through a divorce with children is not nice anyway. But then going through because I was like the breadwinner of the marriage, and I was seen as someone that was quite outspoken and confident. I was in denial that this abuse situation was happening, and I was hiding it from the world. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like,
I'm so sorry.
This can't really be happening to me, sort of thing. But what I'm saying is, I'm really grateful for all that, though. Weirdly,
Yeah,
which obviously I didn't want to be strangled, but I'm grateful for it all because it's made me who I am. It's made me a better person. It's made me more like learn the things that my insecurities and my, you know, learn more about myself, which I probably wouldn't have done. I probably would have been more focused on materialistic things in life. You know, it's really stripped me of everything and been able to kind of, I've become a more whole person and been really proactive in my mental health and self-development and who I am. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So for that,
it's amazing. It's so inspiring.
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have had that. So
I know, and I think Steve Jobs says you only understand life looking backwards. And so when you're in it, and you're in like the dark nights of the soul, like the dark nights, you know, I've had a few, and you're just like, oh my goodness, why? Like there is if you said to someone that was in that at the moment in time, oh, you know, there's going to be an opportunity here. It's a lovely opportunity for you to become more self-aware and for you to know yourself better and for you to grow mentally, and you just be like, please just shut up and leave me alone. But you know, it's so true, hon. Like I agree with that so much. And I think that's, as you move through your life, I think you have those understandings to always pull on when we go through the crap now. So I'm like, okay, I remember that I thought it was useless and hopeless and it was never going to get better and I didn't know how to get out of this. But I also remember that I did, and I am resilient, and I have that
we don't know what the future holds, none of us, do we? You know,
but we have more resilience because of those things. And that's why midlife can be so freeing. So freeing, because we're like, okay, I now have more of an understanding of who I am, what I want, and what I can do, even through the challenges in life. And we've learned from those, and it opens up so much opportunity.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So for people who are listening to this, I think it's mainly women that follow the channel, although I do get men as well. I do tend to, it's funny, I used to focus just on men and women, and then I decided just to focus on women. And the more I focus on women, the more men I attract, which I don't mind either way, but it's more for my messaging that I focus on one or the other for me. So it's a mixture, but I think the last time I looked at the stats, it was sort of more women. But for either, if somebody is really stuck right now and they're in that midlife age. I mean, maybe we should say women and focus on one and then focus on the other, but any kind of advice that you would give them for anybody that was just feeling a bit lost and stuck and just with everything?
Yeah, I think it's the same, really. I would give the same advice to a man or a woman. I would say, firstly, make sure you're not too isolated.
Yeah.
If you can, connect. So connection is so important. I mean, that's why COVID was so devastating for so many people. Connection is really important. So whether you're a man or a woman, do try. And I know when you're in that stuck place and you just don't, it is so dark, the last thing you want to do is connect with anyone. But I would just say you can connect with people online. This is the beauty of social media now and the digital age, is that we can connect with different groups and different people. So just make sure that you do that so you don't feel so alone. And then I would say, if you can, if you're feeling really stuck and low and like the best years of your life are behind you, this might sound really odd, but move your body. Move your body, because actually it's so
a lot of movement people, like a lot of healers of movement, and I just think it's like you're saying, it's so important.
It's so important, because I know from my own self, for, we said before we came on, for all of my I've been into self-help since I was like 18, right? But I was in such miserable times, but I was never looking after my body. I treated my body like absolute crap. But I was doing all my meditation, I was doing all my mindset stuff, all of this, but I never looked after my body. And it was only when I started looking after my physical wellness, my gut health, my nutrition, my moving my body, was when I got my power back. And it was the missing piece in my life, because that level of it's actually, yes, it's about how you're going to start feeling about yourself. And I don't mean go running around the block. I mean, just get outside and walk. You need to start somewhere, but don't just sit there. Just get outside, move your body, do something, because it's going to increase your endorphins. That's going to help with your mental health, your emotions. But it's going to make you lift some weights, even just do anything at home, do some body weight stuff, because that's going to make you start feeling stronger, more powerful. But also it starts with discipline, right? So it starts to, when we start doing some activities every day, no matter what it is, it starts building the discipline muscle. And when you start building the discipline muscle, how successful you are. Once you have discipline in your life, you start to have more self-esteem, more confidence. So it doesn't matter if you're stuck in the weeds and the mud right now, that's the first thing I would say, is get a routine. Start having a bit more routine, so you feel like you've got a bit of control over your life. And the thing I would say is move your body in some way to start kickstarting that mental health and that discipline muscle.
And I think, because I remember having days where I just was, moping around and not wanting to do anything. And I think that is so important, like knowing now, like doing a lot of healing things and sound healing and all that kind of stuff. And I met a couple of ladies who have done like movement therapy and things like that. And it all makes, like afterwards, like, oh yeah, that really makes sense. But it really does, like you say, even if it just go for a walk. But I think even if you were having one of those, because I remember having a day where I was like, I just didn't want to like see anybody, even if it was a stranger walking past me in the park. I was just like, I do not want to see anyone. I think even just putting some music on and just at least just sort of like having a bit of a dance, which might seem a bit silly on your own. Even if you don't feel like going out into the world, just move yourself, because that does do a lot. Just like having like a cold shower does, I think, as well. Just because, there were days where I was, dropping the kids off, coming back and just like wanting to put my head under the pillow and just wanting my life to go away, sort of thing. And it was actually my work that kept me going, because I didn't want to let other people down. Do you know what I mean?
Well, also, like you saying about dancing around, it's so important. Like, energy gets stuck in our body. Energy gets stuck. We've got the chakras, we've got the meridians. It gets stuck. So if we've had trauma, which by the time we get to midlife, we've had some levels of trauma, right? It gets stuck in the body. The body keeps score. So yes, absolutely, like sound healing, all of that stuff. I love all that stuff. I'm the same as you. But at the same time, if we're still stuck in a body that is deeply unhealthy and deeply unwell, and we're not nourishing it properly, we're not moving it properly, nothing else is going to stick. It just won't, because there is such a link between our body and our mind and our soul. Like, it's, if you can't, that's why we do an integrated approach, because you can't tap into one and ignore the other.
Yeah.
And the body, you've got to move the body and move the energy out of the body, and we can do that through exercise and movement.
Yeah, I love it. So I think that's probably like the biggest tip for people who are stuck. Like you say, don't keep it to yourself, share it with people. But the movement thing, I think, is really important.
Yeah, nourishing gut health. I mean, like, there's so many. I mean, I would say all of our pillars are really important. The mindset piece is really, really important, because again, people try to outdo their own self-identity. So I always say you cannot outperform your own self-identity. Well, however you think about yourself and the beliefs you have about yourself, that's what you're going to get. So if you want to go for something externally, like you want to write a book, you want to lose some weight and keep it off in a sustainable way, but you don't believe that you can, and you don't believe that that's the kind of person you are, doesn't matter what you do externally, if that's not the self-talk inside, it's not going to matter at all. You're just not, your self-identity will always win out.
Yeah.
So looking at that is really important as well. But if someone's stuck in the mud, I would just say, make sure you are connected. Make sure you start moving, get some routine into your life, get some discipline into your life through that. And, make sure that you are nourishing your body with good food. And then the rest, then you've got more resilience to do the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who are listening to this thinking, yeah, this Claire, Southern girl, Londoner.
It's Londoner.
Sounds. I'm glad I made you smile. It sounds spot on. I need her in my life. How do you, and is it Jamie or James?
Yeah, James.
How do you both, so how can you help someone? Because I know you do corporate work, you do retreats. How could you help someone who was listening to this podcast?
Oh, bless. Well, so we have a program called the Midlife Method, and that's the 6 pillars, our 6-pillar approach. You can find out about that on our website, themidlifementors.com. So it's www.themidlifementors.com. And that will give you the 6-pillar approach that we use in the Midlife Method program. And we have our own app, and it's basically teaching those people all the skills and the tools that they need at midlife to thrive. And that's an online program, so that's probably the best place to start. And then on our website also, you'll find about our retreats that we run. We've got one running in October, so next month. And I also do one-to-one coaching as well. So if you want more support, so we can bolt on coaching, and I love one-to-one coaching, because I crazily qualified as a coach when I was 24. Like 24, what life experience did I have? So, but I knew I wanted to be a coach, right? Even back then, I didn't do anything with it for years after that. But I love coaching one-to-one, because that's where you get the biggest transformation.
I really like it. I think for me, it stems back when I was in the corporate world. I was training, I managed a team.
Yeah,
I
think
you're
very important.
or you're not, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there's
the best way. Would you say the website is where you mentioned TikTok? You've got 90,000.
Oh yeah, TikTok is nuts. I mean, TikTok is a beast. That sometimes I feed and sometimes I don't, because I just need to take a step back from it, because it can be a bit toxic. But on TikTok, I'm at the Midlife Mentors. So at the Midlife Mentors, and on Instagram, I'm at Midlife Mentors. But if you go to the website, themidlifementors.com, everything will be on there.
So if anybody's watching on YouTube, hello.
Hello.
You'll be able to see in the comment section all of those links that Claire mentioned. And if you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever on the podcasting channels, you'll be able to see everything that Claire's mentioned in the show notes as well. So it's been great having you on the show. I feel like we could chat for another hour. We're like neighbours. We should meet up.
I know. I was just thinking, it's so nice. This is the beauty of digital age, right? This is like, we can connect, and I would never have met you otherwise if it wasn't through social media. I found you on Instagram, and I was just like, oh, I like her. reach out to her, and I'm sure hopefully we'll do some more stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Because I'm doing like a work on tomorrow. I'm flying to Malaga, to Mijas, to do my first retreat stroke book workshop.
Amazing.
So I've been doing Amazon, Etsy, and books recently.
Yeah.
I've always done books, but I never really it all came about in my Amazon group that I said, someone was saying, how do you do a book? And I was like, I'll tell you what, if you buy my book, I'll do a masterclass. Whoever buys my book, I'll do a masterclass. I'm just launching this journal. And so we did this masterclass, and I thought, I wonder if anyone else would want like a masterclass on this. So then in my free group, I did this. I said, does anybody want to do a masterclass? It's just evolved, and now it's like
so exciting.
I know about doing books on Amazon than physical products.
So you're running a retreat.
So how it ran was I do an online program around how to get your book published.
Yeah.
Whether that be like your business book or a journal or whatever book, you know what I mean? I've got a 60, in fact, I think it's in his 70s now. A 70-ish. Sorry, Paul, if you're under 70. Guy who's written loads of children's stories, so I'm helping him. So all sorts of different people. It's not just business books, or it's not just journals or whatever. And it evolved from an online program into now my boys are teenagers. I did everything in my business to be online to work around them, but now that all they want is Uber more than food, I thought actually I want to get back out there. So I started doing workshops just in Birmingham near the NEC, because it was like a good location for me, selfishly. But good kind of central point to do a workshop, and it was like get your book or journal done in 2 days on Amazon.
I love that.
And so now that has evolved to a 3-day, well, actually it's nearly 4 now, 4-day book retreat.
Love this.
So we've got a bit of yoga. We have a lady who's going to do all this hypnosis to get us into the writing frame of mind. We've also got some breath work and meditation, and a bit of this. To be honest, this first one is, I've got to say, a little bit rough around the edges because it's the first time I've done it abroad, and it's actually my friend's villa. Who they're doing like Airbnb, and this is how it all evolved to do it abroad. And I'm hoping to do one there every year, but I've also teamed up with a celebrity that I can't mention the name as yet to do a retreat around for domestic abuse. So
wow. Wow. Listen, I've run retreats since 2013, but they're so rewarding. They are so rewarding. I really miss them. We've been doing them since 2012, and like I love running them. I'm a real people person like you, and I get my energy off of real people, face to face. And actually, really interestingly, we lived in Marbella for near Mijas. So I know that really well, and so we used to split our time between London and Ibiza because we used to live out there as well, and then in lockdown we lived in Marbella for the 2 winters, so we know that area really well. It'll be when is it next? You're going tomorrow? Oh, it'd be lovely. You've got a really nice time of year as well, because it won't be too hot.
That's what we thought.
So you love that. Retreats are just there.
To really see how it runs with working, because it's kind of not really a retreat. It's a workshop come with
It's so exciting.
I've always done it in like cold Britain in a
so why not?
So this will be interesting with like Wi-Fi and things like that, because we do need Wi-Fi, so it'll be interesting how it works out. But
have the best time doing that. I can't wait to follow all of that stuff going on Instagram.
So really excited about it, and I've just always wanted to kind of do just maybe like a retreat a year, nothing more than that as regards to time aspect. But super excited to see how this one pans out tomorrow.
Good. Oh, keep me updated. I love it when people start running retreats, because I know what goes into them, but they are so rewarding. So that's
lovely there. It's funny because I always thought Ibiza was the party until my friend goes there every year, and she showed me a total different side to it.
Yeah, it's stunning. And the North Six Senses, obviously, Six Senses is like uber like luxury and stunning. It's on the north of the island. It's so incredible, and it's very wellness orientated. And we miss it. We lived out there permanently. I lived permanently out there for 6 years until COVID, and we moved back to London. But then we are blessed because our business is pretty much online. especially in the winter, it kind of goes down a bit. So then we just go, right, we'll go back to Ibiza for 2-3 months, or Marbella, and we run retreats in Marbella as well sometimes. But yeah, well, I'm so excited for you.
I'm going to go and check out your retreat, because I kind of think we should all go on a retreat ourselves every year, because I think sometimes as business owners and coaches, and we put ourselves out there, as the experts in our niches, that sometimes we've got to fill our own cup up as well, because like we all have bad days, and sometimes I think it's sometimes harder because we're like, well, I can't be because I'm this person everyone looks up to.
100%, I hear you on that massively.
To, take the time out to do it, and I think we should all be doing I keep saying every year I'm just going to go on a retreat myself, but not.
I go on retreats.
Not because I've got
I do
to do. Just spend that time even on my own, you know what I mean? I think
just like getting away. I mean, I create my own mini retreat sometimes. I'm like, right, I'm going into the middle of nowhere, and it's not a retreat, but it's my retreat. But I do go on once a year. I'll go on my own retreat, whatever that looks like, because I agree. I think we can be so in striving mode, so focused, ambitious. That's what you do. You're like a real go-getter, but then you're like, oh my goodness, I actually haven't been looking after myself at all. I'm spouting all this stuff, and I'm here like totally saying to you, I've got that so wrong. I mean, in May I had burnout.
I think so many people I've spoken to are the same. We're all, it's because, like you say, we're so driven and we're so
want to help.
We do it exactly. Yeah.
We need help too sometimes.
Definitely. Well, it's been fab. Honestly, I've really loved connecting with you.
Me too.
Before I forget, I'm literally going to close it down. I'm not even finished yet. Normally my interview's like half an hour. But like,
bless you. I know.
What does freedom mean to you, Claire? Because I ask everybody this, and I haven't asked you.
Freedom to me means freedom to sing my own song, feel like the fullest version of me, like I've reached my potential. That's what freedom feels like for me. I think every day feeling like I am allowing myself and giving myself permission to be who I really am, discovering who I really am, and moving towards living my potential. It's nothing to do with, for me, it's nothing to do with money, things, none of that. It's freedom in myself.
Yeah. Love that. Love it. It's been fab having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll stay in touch. I'm so excited. Very best of luck for your retreat.
Yeah.
And I know you'll smash it. It'll be amazing. But yeah, let's stay in touch and do more stuff together. Yeah. I feel like we could just carry on talking forever.
We could. Definitely. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Sending you lots of love.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And if you want to get more freedom in your life, then come and join Your Freedom Project Facebook group, which the link is below in the comments section. And I am giving you a copy of my visualization manifesting book. So manifest more freedom in your life and live the life of your dreams.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mine. Love, money, mine. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.